This is my 1999 Honda CR250. I grew up riding this bike my whole life, and unfortunately it's been sitting for give or take the last 5 years. So for this video, the goal is to do one thing: get this bike running after sitting for so long. Before you see the finale, guess how many kicks it takes for me to fire up this bike. If you guys enjoyed today's video or content like this, consider subscribing. Alright, so let's go ahead and take off the seat. This carb is going to be a lot easier to take out if I can pull the subframe apart just a little bit. It'll give us a lot easier access to rip this out. While you see me taking apart this bike, there's one thing I wanted to clarify to you guys. I am not an expert. I don't know what I'm doing, and so I didn't want to make an instructional video on how to do this. Rather, I would want to make this more of the journey that you can watch as you go along. That is pretty nasty. Doesn't look like there's any cracks. It's empty, so it's a good sign. Now you can just see this is much easier now to look in here, swap out the plug. I almost want to take just detailed video of this so I could look back in case I get hung up on anything. This is how everything looks beforehand. I think people underplay ripping the carb out. First time doing it, mind you. I mean, it's not mission impossible, but these boots can just be a pain. So just loosen these as much as you possibly can. And you'll be able to turn it and kind of manipulate it out. Definitely gotta clean this thing. Yikes. So what we have next on the list, this all balls carburetor rebuild kit. You can see it's for 99 CR250. Really cool kit to have, but it comes with all the O-rings, even some smaller parts. They come included in this, so pretty cool kit. I'm excited to get that thing cleaned out, and we'll go from there. What we have right now is a relatively clean carb. I tried my best to dig in there with a toothbrush and get this thing as clean as possible, but at the end of the day, it's a dirt bike, so I'm not going to overthink it. Let's crack open this bowl and start replacing some parts. What I'm really curious to see is what does 5 years of gunk look like built up in the bowl of this carb, because I literally did not unplug this and drain the bowl, unfortunately. So we'll have to see what that looks like after half a decade of sitting. I don't know if you're seeing this, but it looks pretty mint. Crazy enough, this thing actually looks pretty freaking clean. I thought this would be way more gunked up. That's good news. This O-ring though is pretty gnarly. It already broke on me. Super brittle. Good times. This is gonna be pretty obvious for veteran DIY people, but why do you rebuild a carb? Well, when you have a bike that's from 1999, you get O-rings that are really crunchy and flat like this. You wanna have better seals on things. So this all balls kit is awesome. Everything so far is looking like it's gonna fit to spec pretty well. It's all good things. So I had to go all the way to the store to pick up this. The Pilot Jet sits EA right there. I didn't have any screwdriver that could fit, so I had to make a little store run. Try to keep in mind when you take out these, you want to look at the jetting and go off the OEM spec or as close as you can to that. All right, so we can do a little before and after, but this thing, besides a little bit of dirt that's just really wedged in there, thing is clean as I can get it. Huge upgrade from what it was before, and we got the new main jet, new pilot jet in there. The only thing that I wanted to note about the all balls kit is that the main jet, maybe it's an optical illusion, but it does look a little bit off. My stock main jet, it does not have any numbers on it, which is really odd. We're just gonna run this and we can check from the spark plug what the coloring looks like at the end of the day. I am just really happy about how clean this thing was able to get, and the fact that there wasn't a lot of gunk in here. So that's always a plus. So right now I'm just reversing the process for the float here. I noted it as the right part of the clip forward. And then I inspected this, good to go. Then while I'm here, might as well clean up this area a little bit. Jesus Christ. What I had to do, start by tilting it at you, and then putting the inner part in that's going towards the reeds and the engine. Pull this out and just wedge it in there, this part first, and then pull this, use this to pull it out and wrap it around. That took me about like 30 minutes just to figure it out. So if it saves you time, great. And the reveal. It's clean, the carb should be good to go if I did everything correctly, and it's on to the next part. Wow. I mean, like, as if I'm gonna use this, so yeah, let's get this thing off. Or we could just rip it off. All right, so day 2, here's what we got. We have the air filter installed. Looks amazing. The new NGK BR8 EG plug in there. We have a really fresh carb. Now we gotta drain some coolant and do the transmission oil. And again, I don't want to make this necessarily a tutorial video, but for those that know, the coolant's been sitting here for a minute. All we have to do is just kind of inspect the radiator, just making sure that there's no serious dents or nicks here. It actually just visually looks really solid given the age. All we are doing is busting open this 10 mil. That'll drain it. It's about 1.2 liters from what I remember reading online. Once I fire it up, I'll probably let it warm up a little bit and then top it off. And that should be all set for that. Now for the transmission oil, it is an 80 weight by 85. Fills in here, there's a drain plug underneath. Make sure to get an extra crush washer when you reinstall that drain plug. It's gonna be 750 milliliters for the change capacity. That should be good to go. Besides that, I think we should be ready to try out if this thing is ready to be revived. Well, first issue of leaving your bike just sitting there for a while is the petcock might leak. I think I'm still just gonna try to start it. A little bit of gas leaking. All right, first kick. Kick number 2. Who wants to go? Come on. Wipe off some of this gas. did it. We did it. All right, so we have the bike running. It's great. The only issue that we ran into was the petcock started leaking. I just powered through when I was trying to fire it up. It was leaking kind of all over the engine, and we got it running, which is the ultimate goal of the video. What we're gonna do is actually swap out the entire petcock. You could rebuild it. You buy a rebuild kit for 20 bucks when a whole new assembly and the O-ring is about 50. It just makes more sense to replace the entire part, right? So to give it more context, this is the part that was leaking for all the newer people here. The fuel line was also really bad. I'll do a side-by-side showing both of those. This should be a pretty pliable tube. We're just swapping this out real quick. It should fix it in theory. We should be good to go with the bike. It should be at least operating at this point. Okay, so we have the tank off. 2 8mm bolts, boom and boom. There's an O-ring to swap out there. Look how mint that looks. All right, and that's why we swap out these parts. This is probably the nastiest piece that I've swapped out on this bike. The carb was weirdly clean, so this O-ring is supposed to seal in there. And I'm really glad that this is getting swapped out. $50 well spent. Again, let's hope that this fixes the leak. All right, and there we have it. So the petcock has been refreshed. I tested it before I threw it on there. It seems to be working okay. We're gonna turn the fuel line on and just see if we can get a nice little short ride out of this thing without it leaking. Stay tuned. So the bike is finally stored away. Everything is working pretty good. We didn't run into any sort of leak with the petcock, and the carb as well. Everything is good to go. If you made it this far in this video, I appreciate you watching and following along with this project. It's far from finished, so we got the main goal of getting the bike up and running. What I plan on doing in the future is really revamping just a lot of different parts. I mean, this is a rusty chain. We gotta do the brakes, gotta get a new tire, gotta fix the wheel. Go ahead and leave a comment in the section below on what you guys would like to see out of this project. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.